welcome to your day off. My name is Corey. Of course, sitting with my best bud, Tony. What's up, Tony?
What's up, bro?
I kind of like, we're doing more and more. This year, we've been more consistent in our Thursday releases as far as the content that we're releasing. And I got to tell you, man, they just they excite me. It's like, it's such a big give. Our Thursday guests that we've had have just been giving so much.
Yeah. I mean, it literally helps us with our business as well. You know what I mean?
Well, it kind of makes me feel like, oh crap.
Yeah. Like
I gotta have to address this and focus on this.
Got my big old notepad and,
ready to go.
Studying it. Yeah. Like back at school.
I know, it's so silly. So today, once again, we have on Gavin Salsbery, and Gavin's he's gonna tell us what we're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's gonna give us actually today we're talking about boutique salons, but I don't know what that means.
Neither do I. So we'll have to. So the first 5 minutes he'll be explaining what a boutique salon is.
Yeah, but I hear it's a pretty nice trend right now, and whatever that means, I don't know. So
let's get in.
Let's find out.
So, Mr. Gavin Salsbery, welcome back to your day off.
What's up, Corey and Tony? How's it going, man?
What's up, buddy?
Good to be back. Excited to be back. Looking forward to talking to you more about boutique salons. I can define that for you. I know it can get confusing because a boutique, you think of small, I think, when you think of boutique salon. I think for me, it's a little salon, a boutique salon.
Right.
That's not it. It's a boutique, like clothing boutique. So a clothing boutique with a salon, and fusing those two models. If you think about your traditional clothing boutique that women are going to go into and shop for clothing and accessories, jewelry, home goods, you name it, and fusing those two together so that it's one business model. It's pretty exciting.
Well, I've definitely seen, maybe it's just a regional thing. I mean, I've definitely seen people sell like jewelry and sell like, little knickknacks and stuff like that, but I've never really seen clothing being sold. And then, I guess my first question would be, can you make enough money from the real estate, from the footprint of where that stands?
I think that's a great leading question. Yes, you can. Definitely you can. And you really look at, it's an exciting time for that because you have so many stores that are leaving strip centers. Go back in time, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you could pull up to a strip center and you probably would have seen every strip center probably had, check it off the list, the women's clothing store.
Right.
And as shopping's gone online, you've lost a lot of those women's clothing stores. So where you can really start to make money, it might seem conflicting as more shoppers go online, but the beauty of the American hair salon always will be, is that there's not robots cutting hair. And so you've got human beings walking into the space, connecting with other human beings. And when you put the right goods in front of that, in that experience, clothing and home goods and jewelry and accessories, when you have that right environment, it just really complements one another. And I think it's really, we're getting into, from the, heads from the feet up all the way up to the top of the head. You're covering fashion and beauty from head to toe.
Kind of dig that. I have 1,000 questions.
Yeah, I'm just still trying to put it all together and piece it together. Because I could probably see, is this happening across the country? Or is it happening mainly like in LA, New York?
I've seen it happening for probably the last 5 years. I think in the last 2 to 3 years, it's becoming way more of a trend. I know I was sharing with you guys, it's similar to, I think, what I saw when the trends of you had a hair salon, and back in the late 80s, early 90s, everybody and their brother wanted to open up a spa salon. Right. And so I think it became a hot trend. Everybody thought, we better offer additional services. And again, it complements the old, wellness and health and beauty. And I think we're seeing that in the last 2 or 3 years. So yeah, Tony, they're opening up, I think, from coast to coast. And I know myself, I get a lot of requests to, hop on virtual or go on site and try to help people get it all kind of solved how would this work.
Well, that's where I'm living in my head right now. Like I'm, like with actual like clothing stores and stuff, they have like a huge, like, I don't know, back room or back whatever program where, they have buyers that are going to Fashion Week and they're buying stuff. And my first couple questions is, would you have to hire like a buyer staff for that, one? And then two, where would one find, said clothing and cheap enough to where they could make a profit off of it?
Yeah. See, it's like a whole new world. I think when we were talking about, successful practices to operate and profit from this model, definitely a buyer is critical to the equation. Typically that buyer is going to be the salon owner. So you got to think about, there's a lot of salon owners that just from the creative space, from the fashion sense, from just the unbelievable souls and talent they have, there is a subgroup inside of our industry that fashion is just, it's their middle name. I mean, they live it every day. So when you can get someone inside of that space, whether it's an owner, a manager, sometimes I've seen it be a key stylist who just has a passion for fashion and they want to be empowered. You definitely will need, so it's not as easy as, it's always this person, but you definitely need, if you're ever going to do one, that's a critical position, is who's going to do the buying. And sometimes it's collaborative, sometimes it's the owner and the manager, or the owner and maybe a close friend or client that just has aspirations of having a boutique as well.
And then on top of that, like where would one go and find, said clothing, or where do you shop for it? Or, as a buyer, not as it gets so confusing when you talk about buying and shopping. But
yeah, but from a buying standpoint, this is where they have markets all around the country. So Atlanta has a huge market. Dallas has a huge market. Las Vegas, Los Angeles. A lot of regional cities also have, like here in Minneapolis, where I live, once a month, they have down at our Fashion Mart, they have one day they open it up and vendors come in. You have to have a tax ID in order to get in and purchase at the wholesale level. But it's kind of like one of those worlds that when you start to really seek it, there's quite a bit of opportunities of where you can get exposure to brands and boutique goods. And then also, that's key, but also online nowadays. Once you've established the relationship at the buying show, then you're doing a lot of your buying now online in back kind of portals that the average Googler or Amazonian who's, trying to shop, they're not going to find these goods because they're just for the wholesalers. So
when are you seeing a better design if someone's, has the boutiques, model in mind and they build the salon out with that? Or do you see existing salons trying to squeeze that into an existing space?
That's a great question.
Yeah. The ones that are struggling are the ones trying to fit it into an existing space, because space, I think, is critical to the overall success of it. So when the space is not adequate, and I'll use an example that I think fits what I'm seeing, is when someone has like a 10 by 12 little area over by the front desk or over somewhere near the reception area. That 10 by 12 space is not what, people are trying it and they're putting jewelry in there. They're putting handbags. That's been happening since 30, 40 years, I think, in our industry.
Right.
But those are the ones that I think are not seeing the upside of what it could be. The ones that are really, they either are existing and they take a bay, an existing bay that might be right next to them, or someone who's just going in from day one. And they're really committing. They're committing to the bay, the whole space, dressing rooms. The footprint is easily, I'd say an average footprint is going to be 1,000 square feet. The average bay in America is probably about 12 to 1,400 square feet, what we're used to. The subway bay, that's about
right.
12 or 1,400. So when you get into that size, yeah, now you can really your merchandise is different. The ability, the experience is different. You know, the commitment on both ends. And so when the guest walks in for their hair appointment, they're walking into a space where it's like, wow, look at all this it's a unique, oftentimes it's a first impression effect that I've never seen anything like this. And you'll hear clients, I've heard hundreds of clients say, why hasn't this been done before? Why in the world are we waiting so long to fuse the head to toe and bring it all together? And so those that are really committing to the space, I think, can see the return on the investment. It works.
I love that. I also love like something that you slid in that I didn't catch. You said it twice. I didn't catch it the first time, but I caught it the second time, was like home goods, and like what a perfect space for like small little like home good knickknacks. I know like Tony and I used to work with a woman who was unbelievable at this. Her name is Andrea. And Andrea now owns a salon in LA, but when she was here in DC, she used to just bring in the coolest little knickknacks ever, you know, and she sold the crap out of them as well.
Yeah, and she had a little cafe, like a real cafe deli inside her salon too. That was
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super cool. I'm all for it when you do it right, because there is no other, I think it's one of the best traffic to lead new traffic into your space. Because if you go to like an Instagram page of a boutique salon, you really get the fusion happening of the hair and the fashion. And what it does then is, dependent of what you're really marketing, let's just say I'm on my Instagram today and I want to boost a post. Am I going to boost a hair post, which I always am going to do, but am I also going to boost a fashion post, something that, you know, shows the boutique side? And when you have, you know, like all cylinders firing, you're going to get clients that are going to walk in and they literally will say, I didn't know this was a hair salon. So they walk in because they've seen the post, you've boosted it, they like the outfit. And so when they walk in, you're getting new exposure from new clients, to the tune of, you know, we own one here in Minnesota, and every month we get between 300 and 400 clients that are just coming in for boutique. And how many of those clients, it's part of how we do it, on the checkout, we're asking, you know, do you receive hair services here? And if they say no, you know, wow, I never have had my hair done here, then we've got an offer that we're going to hand to that. And it could be a complimentary blow dry style, just to get them in the chairs, just because, you know, it's hard to cheat on a hairstylist. But a blow dry style, it's kind of a, you know, an unoffensive, you know, easier way to just let them try out the salon, try out the stylist. So when it comes to new traffic, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm not kidding you. It is significantly, when you nail it and you've got both the spaces working for you, they're fused together. I'll give you one example of how they can fuse them together. We put our color processing table in the back of our boutique. So we have literally women sitting there for 30, 45 minutes. And oftentimes they're getting up, they're walking through. I mean, our demographic is wearing all of this stuff. I mean, I kind of find humor in it, that I really do. I find great humor, and if anything, maybe sadness, that we still in the beauty industry identify that our only product to sell is hair care. And I start to look at, wait a minute, time out. How many of these clients are walking in for all of their beauty needs? And I think it's just when you start to, it's kind of a mind shift of opening your mind to think about that client sitting in the chair. They're wearing clothing and shoes and jewelry and handbags and the hair. And I think if you really are honest, all of it matters. The hair can look great, but if the clothing is, you know, it's like it all goes together. So I think the model, when you really see it from that perspective, it's a beautiful marriage of all that.
A light bulb just went off in my head. You're right. Because I mean, now I can see the picture, you know, and when you walk up to a counter and you see just like a little stand with like 6 bracelets, you're not going to really pay attention to it, or it's not going to, you know, but if you walk up to it and you had a long case and you had all these different, you know, the jewelry, now it's going to spark your attention, right? So now you're curious. Now you want to look at it and see what they have. And you know what I mean? Because now you have options. You know what I mean? I totally see that. Plus, as a, you as a salon owner, or, you can make it fit your style, because people
Right.
come in and they're coming to Corey because of Corey's style, right? So your style can definitely filter out to other things, and whatever you think is going to complement me,
Mm-hmm.
not only my color or the hair, it. I totally see it.
I totally see it too. And I was actually thinking while he was talking, like I was thinking like it might, I mean, it's work. So like you have two options here, right? Like you either have, you can market it, i.e. Instagram or Facebook or however you do your marketing. And, I know even for us, even for the podcast, like we struggle with like, okay, what are we going to post today? And if you had a boutique, that is such an easy, like, oh, Mondays are boutique day, Mondays are fashion day or whatever. So it just gives you another way to touch your
But not only that, you're like, you know what? Hey, this color is amazing. Here, try this on. If you don't mind, I can.
Mm-hmm.
And then you post that and say, also, she's wearing, blah blah blah. We have here at the shop.
And Olivia does that already. Olivia Smalley, like she has clothes in hers, but she just does it for her own photographs.
Right.
She's like, this is going to look great with this photograph. So here, put this on and let's get some photographs. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you're just asking them, you're asking them at the end of the day for the purchase. It's cool. Or Gavin, could you suggest that you would run your boutique as a different store altogether, like on an Instagram account, like how you market that? Would you market it as a store by itself?
I do. I like them together, but I do know of a client that I work with in Tennessee that they opted to have, they've got their hair page and they've got their boutique page, and they really operate them separately. I couldn't, I'd be making it up if I told you the pluses and the minuses of operating them together versus separate. But I know that it works for them. For us, it works for us to fuse the two together. I think I saw a post that Daniel Mason Jones did a couple of, maybe a week or two ago. And I loved it because the post was about time and the value of time and the consumer of today, how valuable time it keeps increasing. Less time, children and families and work and, all the hustle. And I look at that value of time and I just think when you walk into a boutique salon, why not increase their value of time by having both the hair, they can receive hair services, and while they're processing, they can also be doing their shopping. That actually is a benefit to a lot of working women on the go in today's world, because especially when I'm assuming that you've got the right goods in there, you've got and that's important. The goods need to match. If I'm charging $75 a haircut, I've got to have the right type of goods to match that type of demographic, price points and brand identity and whatnot. But
I think this is a good segue then. So let's say I'm all on board. Like I want to give this a go. Like what? And you actually have one, right, Gavin? Like you own a salon that has a boutique in it. Okay, so just kind of tell our listeners like what have some of the pitfalls been, and what's the I don't want to use the word negative necessarily, but what have been some of the challenges with having it, and then what to do to overcome those challenges?
Well, space, what Tony was asking, it definitely, when the space isn't allocated correctly, whether there's not enough space or whether it's in the very back of the salon, maybe it's off to the side, it just doesn't flow well, complement one another. That's going to be an issue. The buying is another issue. It's hard I think one of the hardest things as a business consultant for Summit sometimes is I've got to communicate in a really soft, professional way that if it's not working, I have to look at why it's not working. And sometimes it's the buying. It's just not the right goods. It's just out of season. It's out of touch with maybe the trends. Maybe the price point's too low. Maybe the price point's too high. So I think the buying is one of the pitfalls. I also think the branding in general. So, I think people are trying to get into it and not committing on the financial side of it enough. So what I mean by that is they've got their salon name, but when they open up their boutique, the branding of that company needs to evolve so that it would say boutique in it. And that costs money. So like a sign out on the front of a building can be anywhere from $6,000 $10,000, $12,000. So if you're going to add a boutique into your model, oftentimes I think when you're trying to do it on a shoestring budget, the last thing you want to do is pull down the old hair sign, the hair company sign, and replace it with boutique into the mix. It has a cost. So I think that's a pitfall, is branding. They either aren't willing to commit the investment into the updated, refreshed brand, or they're kind of just two different entities and they're kind of struggling with how to fuse the two together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say space, buying, and branding, I think, are probably three of the most common pitfalls.
Mm. Those all make sense too, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have if you're going to take on this endeavor, you don't have like L'Oreal, who kind of shows you, okay, these are the products of the season. These are that. I mean, you kind of have to, be the self-starter there. And like another thing that came to mind too, when you said it, is like, as far as seasonal and stuff, it's like, it would also be hard to kind of like control how much inventory you need, per season. Cause you certainly don't want to, have a lot left over at the end of the season.
Just like, I guess, fewer or smaller is more, you know what I mean? It's better to run out than, overbuy it. And
but there's that word boutique, right? Like,
yeah,
this is it. It's in limited.
It makes it more appealing too. Rare, right? Like, there's only 2 or 3, you know what I mean? And so
2 or 3 pieces, right?
Yeah, exactly. You have 2 or 3 pieces, and they're going to be gone like that. And you know what I mean? You make them more of a desire and want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I got to go and see what they have, and because it's not going to last long.
Yeah, I love that though. That's cool. I mean, it's intriguing to me.
Yeah.
It's different. It's intriguing. I would love to, like, on a personal level, I'd love to see it for myself. Like I said, I've never, aside from
we got to go to Minnesota.
I think we do. We got to go visit Gavin in Minnesota. We should probably make a trip. We got a lot of friends up there now.
Yeah.
You come in the winter, I'll take you boys ice fishing.
Oh. Hey, maybe we can do a layover from Bozeman.
Yeah, exactly. We'll transfer it in Minnesota and stay there for a couple of days.
Yeah, and then head over to go see Jerry over in Bozeman.
But here's where it's really cool. And, I probably have, in the last 3 years, worked with 10 boutique salons. And so I'm living it. I'm looking at data. I'm coaching. I'm paying attention to it, working with salon owners, the people who are buying, the Instagram, like all of that. I'm in the thick of it. And one of the things that I think, just it goes back to the new traffic, the amount of traffic that we can feed into that boutique, it just overflows into the hair chairs. Mm-hmm. And I can't really get my head around trying to explain how important that gives that company a point of difference. How many times would one of your hair guests walk into a hair salon if they were super happy with their current stylist?
Never,
right? Never. Unless they were lost, asking for directions. Like, maybe they're in someone's wedding and they're coming in on that Saturday to get an updo, and they're in a new space, but it's not their salon, right? But when they walk into a boutique, I have hair guests that don't receive hair services walking into my space every day.
That's a good point. We actually have lived that. About 15 years ago, we worked for a salon, and what they did is, it was kind of pre-Ulta, but what they did is they made like a retail store all the way at the front of the salon. And then, unlike Ulta, it was a full service salon in the back, meaning like, I don't know, we had 30 operators or something, but the front end of the salon looked like a retail store. And people would come in there just to browse because they felt comfortable browsing at that store, where most people don't feel necessarily comfortable browsing in a hair salon. And many times you'd hear people say, "Oh, this is a salon too." They literally didn't realize that it was a salon. I mean, they're actually still operating in that model, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's Reg Laws, actually, at PR Partners in DC. So go into any of his stores, and the front ends all look like stores with like retail stores. Again, like Ulta with salons in the back.
And I think you mentioned it earlier about how the stylist, I believe they enjoy that boutique because it gives them another point of difference with their clients when they're sitting in the chairs. It's just another connecting point around fashion. And also when it comes to Instagram, and sometimes, a client might actually buy an outfit or buy a top while they're processing. And then when it comes time to the end of the appointment and they're getting ready to do a photograph, that client might say, hey, actually, I want to put on, that outfit or that top that I bought. So there's a real marriage there. And then one last piece is our front desk team. I mean, if anything, I think that in the American salon industry, that position at the front desk, that sales associate, is the most critical, undervalued position. I would just shout it from the mountaintop that they're needed. Without that operation piece, I think a lot of stylists would struggle. And when you think of just that position, when you put a boutique into the model, they can actually earn additional income. So they can earn commission off clothing. We don't recommend at Summit, we never recommend like commissioning the stylist with the front desk. That can be a us versus them. It can get kind of dicey. But when it's just clothing and accessories and jewelry and home goods, it's definitely something that you can put a piece of commission into their sales, because it's a different skill set. They're having to get out from behind the desk. They're having to turn over dressing rooms, make recommendations, engage with the clients differently. So they earn more. And I think that's a positive for the entire beauty industry.
I love that. But that also brings up another question. So what are you recommending as far as like, if I'm a stylist and I work for, a Summit salon or something, what's the commission on, say, a $50 shirt or something?
Yeah, well, we don't recommend commission on the clothing back to the stylist. It's that division, that front desk division, the front desk team gets the commission on the clothing. The stylist is going to get the commission on the hair care, the makeup, the hot tools. And when it comes to commission, we're a big believer in performance-based commission. So, you can earn up to 20% commission on all hair care, tools, makeup. It's all dependent of what you sell. The sliding scale can increase for the commissions. Now, for the boutique, you're looking at, it's a smaller commission margin, 2 to 3%. But in a day, like we might sell $1,000 today in boutique goods. Wow. So $1,000, 3%, it's $30. But there maybe was, someone came in for the morning shift, someone came in for the evening. So you've got $30 you're splitting amongst two people, $15 a piece. What it's doing is it's taking that hourly rate that we're paying our front desk team. Mm-hmm. I might pay my front desk team 10 to as much as $15 an hour. But when you add that additional commission from the clothing boutique side, it can bump that hourly up $2, $3, $4 extra dollars, especially in holiday peak times.
Yeah,
make it on that.
Absolutely, dude. This is so good, man. I think that I think it's neat. Again, it's something that I didn't know anything about, so I love it.
Now I know.
Now I know. I got my nose on now. That's cool. Gavin, so if there's nothing else, let's wrap this thing up.
There's one more thing, I think, and I think it maybe might be the most important thing. We always say it's not about the money, but it is about the money. When you look at it from the money standpoint, the profitability on a boutique is ridiculous when you know how to do it. Service, if you're a commissioned salon owner in America, the best you're going to ever earn off of commission, your profit of every dollar of service that a stylist is doing, the best you might keep is between 3 and 5% of all the, so $100 rolls through the register, you might keep $3 to $5. When you're getting into retailing, you're keeping 30% of every dollar. Whoa. So when you start to cross promote and you've got all these hair guests that now are starting to, I think it's about 1 out of 5 will purchase a boutique item. Now you're getting into the cross promotion. And instead of the ticket being, I'm going to make it up, $140 for the hair, Maybe they bought a shampoo today that's another 20, 25, but then they add on some denim, jeans, a couple of graphic tees, things like that. All of a sudden that ticket's going from $140 for the service, $25 for the shampoo. You're at $165, and then boom, you get an extra $150 or $200 for a boutique purchase. And the profitability of that guest experience is unbelievable. Now that I don't want to make it seem like it's easy to do either. All cylinders, but the buying, the space, the merchandising, the pricing, it's all got to work. But when it works, it's really great profit.
So what's the markup on clothing and stuff? I mean, we know what the markup is on shampoos and things. So how is that different? Why is the profit?
Depends on your
so
buyer,
better?
man.
Well, I've said this to so many clients over the years. You're not going to get in trouble taking a shampoo bottle at the wholesale price and marking it more than, just one full turn, like a markup. So I'll use an example, $15. A lot of salon owners will just mark it up to $30 because they bought it for $15, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's just industry practice. And that's how it is. When you get into other industries, pizza, jewelry, furniture, those are the biggest marking up, I think, industries that there are. So when it comes to boutique, it depends. There's a few brands that they hold your hand, like you have to sign a contract that you can't mark it up beyond a certain amount. But majority of them, they don't. So you got to go off of it's a scientific wild ass guess. You got to go off in a way. And and that's where that buyer comes into play, where they're just in tune with how much would someone pay for this. But it's common that it's going to be 3 times, 4 times. And you get lucky. There are some things that we can mark up 5 times. You buy for, $4 or $5, $6. And, I wish there were more of that, but there isn't. But you can sometimes get 4 or 5 times the markup. Usually 3 to 3.5, I think, would be more common.
Wow, that's huge then. I mean, that's reason enough to at least give it a go.
Right?
That could be incredible. You start shutting down your hair business and start opening up more.
Well, they need each other. They're married to one another. So I think without the hair guest, the boutique's not going to get the traffic it needs. Hence why everybody is closing up their brick and mortar and moving online, because they can't get the traffic in there to go in and buy anymore. But in our industry, that's the beauty. They keep coming in. And I think it allows then that footprint, the cost of the rent, cost of the goods, it all can work like that.
Wow. That's awesome, dude.
And one last thing I want to say, and this is, I know things are going to keep going online, but there's something about touching something. There's something about feeling something. There's something about putting it on. And I think there's always going to be, in the name of service, that's the beauty. We're always going to get people in the chairs. But if you can put things around them that they use every day, that it's a part of their overall look, and they can touch it and feel it and try it on, and that's a different experience than just going to Amazon and clicking away and buying.
I actually think that there's a huge upside to that too. And the other thing too is that, unlike, you always have those clients that are going to take a picture of whatever product you use on them and then go, shop you, but that's going to be difficult to do if you're buying it from like a boutique or a unique kind of thing. Unique, look, whatever, hey, I like that shirt, they're not going to really go to Amazon and look for it.
Right.
Because hopefully you have it in small enough supply. Mr. Gavin, once again, the man with the bombs.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thanks for joining us on your day off. Hey, so there it is. Hey, this is a message that we've been trying to bring, I don't know, for the last couple of months, actually since we started the podcast. Hey, so if you like the podcast or if you find that it's useful, please leave us a review, a 5-star review on iTunes. Leave us a rating and a review.
But if you don't like it, forget about it.
Yeah, totally forget about this message. We also want to thank Sarah and Blaine from Pretty Gritty. Sarah and Blaine, they are a band out of Portland, Oregon, and we just want to thank them very much for allowing us to use their song, Pleased to Meet You, on our podcast. That's cool. I think you can find, actually you can find their music on iTunes.
Peace and hair grease.